Hey guys, what's going on? Oh, sorry. One sec. Hey guys, what's going on? Torrent Code here, coming to you with a tutorial. Well, not really a tutorial, rack extension review, sorry. I'm talking about the FET Compressor today, and the FET Compressor is something that's really, really nice. FET Compressor, what is it? What does it do? Basically, it's a compressor, and it's a compressor with a really, really nice distinctive sound. Let's take a look at what we're looking at here. So it's got nice big knobs and a nice little display, but that's not what we really pay attention to. We want to hear how it sounds. So this is the drum section. This is the drum section of my Misty Mountain remix, and without the compressor, the snare sounds pretty soft. And let's just add the compressor and see how it sounds now. Snare has a lot more presence and snap to it, and that's really, really nice. I'm not going to go into how I layered that snare. All you got to know is that all the snares, the different snares that I layered and the claps and stuff, they are going into a bus, and that bus has this compressor on. So really, when I talk about the snare, I actually mean the entire snare is being compressed. Okay, sections in this equalizer are actually quite simple. You'll notice that there's no threshold in here. This is something I quite like because it takes much of the programming of the compressor away and lets you really focus on making music. As you can see, we've got ratio, attack, and release. And the ratio is actually quite interesting because it's got 1 to 1, 4 to 1, 6, 8 to 1, 12 to 1, 20 to 1, and all. Now, that all comes from following story. The original that this was modeled after, unfortunately I forgot what compressor it was, but I'm sure it was a very renowned compressor, had individual buttons for the compression ratios, and you could select what ratio you wanted. And then somebody went along and tried to find out what happened if you pressed all the buttons at the same time. And with the all setting, the FET compressor becomes incredibly aggressive and absolutely thrashes the signal, which is something I really, really love about this compressor. So let's try experimenting a little bit. As I said, there's no threshold on this compressor. All you have is an input knob, and as soon as the input reaches a certain threshold, the ratio will start to kick in. So let's try to experiment with the snare sound here. Of course, it would be a wise thing to also activate the compressor. Then, of course, it's also got attack and release, and these don't have times on them, but they sound good. So that's really, really nice compression there. And something I really, really like about this compressor, and that's something we only had in Pulverizer so far, was the ability to compress parallel. And for that, the compressor has a little parallel inject knob, which is really cool. That way, if you want to compress an entire drum bus, for example, you can have nice compressed drums. And that, if you do that, you tend to lose the transients and the dynamics in the drums. And with a parallel inject knob, you can inject some of the dry signal into the compressed signal and get the best of both worlds. So let's try doing that now. If I leave that at compressed and compress this snare to shit, there's absolutely no dynamic snap. And if we inject some of the dry signal, it comes back. Which is really cool. Of course, you gotta watch your levels because it tends to get into the red quite easily. But you can just chop those peaks off anyway, because nobody's gonna hear them anyway, because they're just 1 millisecond or something. Okay, so where was I? About middle, halfway. So let's just get back to the sound that I heard earlier, and one more thing I want to talk about is the detector, and the detector is really cool. It allows you to determine what aspect the compressor listens for. Right now it just listens for the entire signal. But let's say you want to use the compressor as a de-esser, for example, and only want the compressor to compress when somebody says an S sound. And that is actually quite easy. You can set this compressor up so that it only compresses between maybe 2000 and 4000 Hertz. I know that the S is usually higher than that, but let's just take that as a range. And now with these low cut and high cut knobs set up, the compressor will only compress, or will only detect the signal that's between 2000 and 4000 Hertz. So that's really, really helpful when you're trying to base your compression on something, or on certain parts of the signal. That way you don't have to split the signal, then isolate the part of the signal that you want to use, then route that into the compressor as a sidechain. And yeah, with the detector it's really, really nice. Kind of like the compressor and the mixer up there. Let's take a look at the back. Not much to see here. That's just audio in, audio out, and a little sidechain input if you want to use sidechaining. And you can also scale how much the compressor affects is affected by the sidechain. You've got off, and then you've got percentage, or not really a percentage, but you've got values between 0 and 10, 10 being complete sidechaining and 0 being nothing. And then there's also the possibility of having up to 1 milliseconds of look ahead if you want to get rid of those annoying snaps at the beginning of compression. Okay, so that was my little overview of the FET compressor. I think it sounds absolutely awesome. And of course, you gotta try it out for yourself to decide whether the price is worth for you. But I definitely like this RE. And yeah, thanks for watching. Dorn cut out.